Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie from StoryADay here with your podcast in April of 2025. We're inevitably talking about warming up for the StoryADay May challenge coming up, whether or not you're going to participate in the challenge and whatever rules you decide to set for yourself during the challenge. All of this warm-up stuff is designed to be useful to you before the challenge, during the challenge, and also any time that you are doing a writing push, anytime that you want to get some writing done. One of the secrets of writing is that it's not really about whether you can string grammatically correct sentences together. The thing that's going to make the difference is whether or not you can allow yourself to do the work. And one of the best ways to allow yourself to do the work is to allow yourself to have some fun. Now, I'm on vacation this week, which is why I'm recording this from a hotel room. If you're watching the video, you can see that I'm not in my normal environment. I'm having a lot of fun and it's intentional. I've taken this week away before StoryADay May to go somewhere where I'm surrounded by stuff that's unfamiliar, to get my creative juices going, to celebrate my anniversary as well, 30 years, woohoo us. Anyway, play is hugely underrated, especially in those cultures, certain countries, maybe that have that Protestant work ethic, maybe that have other societal conditions on them, underrate play. And part of the point of StoryADay May is to allow you to play. Now next week I'm going to bring you exercises that have a lot to do with your mindset, but this week, in week 2 of our prep month, I sent out emails that were encouraging you to do tiny tasks every day that would help you with the technical writing part of the challenge. So there's nothing worse than having carved out all this time to write and then getting to the point where you are supposed to write and being like, oh my goodness, I have to come up with everything. I have to come up with an idea, I have to come up with a character, I have to come up with a setting, I have to come up with a plot, and I've only got like today to do it, and then I've got to do it all again tomorrow. It's a lot. The point of going at this pace is to encourage you to play and make a mess and get comfortable with making a mess. Also to try things that you would never try. Desperation is a wonderful motivator. And so necessity is the mother of invention. Is that what I was trying to say? No, desperation is a great motivator. So in these first 2 weeks of April, I've been giving you exercises to do that will build a collection of bits and pieces, building blocks, if you want, that you can draw from during the challenge. So here's what I sent you during the past week. If you were signed up for the challenge and if you're on my mailing list, you would have got on the first weekday of last week, you would have got this exercise about brainstorming characters. So the point is to build material that you can pull from during the challenge or whenever you have time to sit down and write. So here is the first task from last week, and it was about brainstorming characters. Because prompts are great, and I can give you a writing prompt and you can be like, yay, I'm going to write this. But characters are really the building block of the story. Everything that your character decides is what drives the plot. So having thought about the kinds of characters that you would like to write before the challenge begins can be useful. So let's start making a list. Let's make a list because, as Donald Mass says, plot happens outside, but story happens inside. So what I was just saying about characters, every choice the character makes drives what happens in your plot. If you have good characters, you don't so much have to worry about plot, which is something a lot of people tell me they worry about. And I certainly have done that myself. So today, for a tiny task, create a list of 5 characters who are quite like you in some way. It makes it easy to write about them quickly, so it's perfect for a challenge like StoryADay May. You don't always want to write about characters who are like you, obviously, but if you only have a few minutes to sit down and write and just look inside and say, what would this character do if they were me? So here are some ways a character might be like you. They might be like you in external features. They might have red hair that curls a little bit. They might have freckles. They might be Scottish. This is probably only applying to a certain small group of you, I understand. Whatever your race, gender, socioeconomic status, job title, your role at your work, your role in your family, your role in your friend group, your height, your weight, your athletic ability, all of those things, your hair color, like I mentioned, all of these things could be a way in which your character is like you. And then you have a lifetime of experiences of being like that to draw on to color how you have your character to react in the story. Other ways that your character might be like you are internal aspects. All the things I listed before are external. Internal aspects are more about how introverted or extroverted you are. What's your ability with math? Maybe you're a math whiz, maybe you're afraid of it. How do you react to stressful situations? Not how you would like to react, but genuinely, how do you react to stressful situations? What's the likelihood that you'll stand up for someone in an argument, maybe somebody who isn't able to stand up for themselves? What's your level of self-control? What are your preferences for what you like to do in your free time? What are your feelings about people who are different from you? Do they worry you? Do they scare you? Or are you delighted to meet them? What's your willingness to fit into society? What are you willing to do to fit in? And what's a group that you would look at and go, oh, I belong with them, which is a different thing altogether. So these are more internal drivers. There's lots more you could think about. Those are just some things to get your ideas, your thought processes started. What 5 characters could you come up with who share something in common with you that you can draw from when you come across a prompt next month or when you have a moment to sit down and write? For bonus points on this one, make a list of ways that those things about you frustrate you and delight you. So these are things that are going to give you conflict in your story. They're going to give you an opportunity to explore the character and make them do things that will drive the plot. And because they're coming from inside or from your experience of life, they're going to be easy for you to draw on and think about how you might use them. Think about how you might use them to create internal and external conflict in the story. These are tiny stories we're writing, but it's worth thinking. If you make a list of this stuff ahead of time, you don't have to use it all. You get to look at your sheet or your notebook or your spreadsheet or your document on the day that you have to write a story and go, oh, my character has red hair. She was called Carrot Top when she was younger, and it made her really defensive about people commenting on her hair. Therefore, in my story, when someone does this, she will do that, right? There's an article at the site called Creating Compelling Characters. You can use the search box, or if I remember, I'll put the link in the notes. And that's your first task. Your second task, and you can do these on different days, you don't have to do them all today, is another one about brainstorming a character. And again, this is not going to shock you. I'm going to get you to do the same thing you just did, but making a list of 5 characters who are very unlike you in all of those external ways: height, weight, hair color, job, role in the family, and the internal ways: extroversion, introversion, stress reaction, willingness to help others, that kind of thing. For this one, it can be really helpful to think of specific people who are very unlike you. People in your life or people in the public life who you either admire or not so much admire, because they're different from you in ways that violate your values maybe, or they're different from you in ways that you find aspirational. I would like to be like that person. And then do the same thing again for those characters. Think about how each of those, if you have time, think about how each of those aspects of those characters who are unlike you might lead to conflict in the story. How could having a different level of extroversion versus introversion help or harm a character that is very different from your experience? I noticed during COVID that there are a lot of extroverts who did not thrive, and they were really fidgety and unhappy because they weren't getting, especially there were some teachers at my kids' school who I was always in awe of how much energy they had and how many activities they did. And I was like, how do you possibly pull that off? That's so admirable. And then during COVID, I saw them not do well. They were a little bit more needy than I'd ever seen them. They were trying to get everyone to rally around and come to group calls and for activities and things like that. And I thought, oh, it's not that they're better than me because I need my downtime. It's that they get their energy from their extroversion, from their interaction with other people. And when you take that away, it creates conflict for them. So characters, lists of characters who are like you, unlike you, the specific ways that they're like you, the specific ways that they're unlike you, internal, external, and then if you have a moment, how each of those things or some of those things are a potential for conflict in your story. What could you do to take away or heighten or otherwise play with those factors that would create difficulties for your character? And think internal and external. All right, ready for more? You can pause this and come back to it, but if you're ready for more, on day 3 of this past week, I asked you to make a list of 10 accessories or physical features that you can give to your characters. So, in a short story, it's important to orient your reader quickly. It's one of the reasons that we tell people not to give 4 characters names starting with M, because the reader might blip over the names on a fast reading and then later in the story get confused about which one was Mary and which one was Margaret, because they didn't pay attention to it. So giving your characters not just a name with a different letter at the beginning of it, which is good, you can give them physical things that they're always holding. So somebody always carries an umbrella, somebody a particular umbrella with a duck on the handle, or a deer stalker, or these things are used in fiction to tell people which character they're looking at a glance. So with main characters, I want, of course, for you to spend some time creating their attributes and giving them personality types, individual personalities, individual ways of talking and thinking that make them leap off the page. That's the ideal. But you don't always have time to do that with every character. So one of the things you can do is give them a particular physical feature. The guy with the moustache, the woman with the really thick glasses, the person who always carries that bright green umbrella with the duck head. So that can help you to cheat in a short story in a way and give people characters that are memorable without having to go into a lot of character development for them. Some examples that I came up with for this, there was the barista on Friends with the shock of white hair. He was very distinctive. If you can even do it with main characters, the doctor in Doctor Who always has an extravagant flappy long coat in most of their interactions. Columbo carries his raincoat or wears his raincoat. Aragorn has his sword. Captain America has his shield. And then for a sadder and vivid example of a secondary character who's never named, the little girl in Schindler's List who's the only spark of colour in the whole black and white film, her red coat. And then we see it at the end, of course, and it's not a happy ending there. The children's gifts in Narnia, even if you were confused about which of the boys or which of the girls he was referring to, the fact that they had those individual gifts would let you quickly reorient. Oh, that's Lucy, or oh, that's Susan, because she's got the bow. With an object that you give to somebody, there's also the narrative possibility that if the reader ever sees that object without the character nearby, they're going to assume some things. They're going to be worried about the character. If you see the character without the thing that they always carry, that has narrative possibilities as well. Make a list of objects that people could carry or physical features which you might use to distinguish between 2 main characters or a walk-on character, just to give you some more colour for your stories so that they don't end up becoming radio plays. Actually, radio plays is a terrible example to use because they usually have Foley artists doing sound effects and all that kind of stuff. A 2-hander play on a blank stage. You don't want all of your stories to end up that way. So if you struggle with setting and grounding your story in reality, giving your characters physical objects or features that you can refer to is a good way to give them character without having to go too deeply into character sheets, and we don't have time for that. We don't always have time for that, and not every character needs that. So a list of physical objects or physical features that your characters and your secondary characters can be identified by quickly. Now, day 4 of last week, I asked you to make a list of personality traits. Now, this is different from the character development stuff we did earlier in the week a little bit, though it may overlap. But I want you to, it's not so much about internal or external features of your character, but more about the actions that a character takes without thinking. So the external signs maybe of an internal value of your character. So I'm sure you have people in your life who always react a certain way to certain things. Think about them. If a person that you know always expects the worst, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, personality trait. The best thing in the world could happen and they're waiting for the disaster to follow. They can't get comfortable with something good happening to them. That's a personality trait. So I think one of the ways to do this is to think about personality traits that drive you up the wall about people maybe that you love, maybe that you work with, maybe the reason, I don't like to dwell in the negative too much, but one of the reasons to think about personality traits that drive you batty in other people is that it evokes a strong emotion, and strong emotions that are easy to access can make it really easy for you to write vividly about them. So and we tend to feel strongly negatively towards people a little. If you can think of personality traits that absolutely delight you about people, please do that as well. I'm not saying that you have to write miserable stories or angry stories because you've thought about character traits that drive you crazy. I'm saying that you can use them to make your characters more vivid during the challenge or in any of your writing. You can use it not just as a character that's a villain, but you can use someone with this kind of character trait. They can be comic relief. This character trait of theirs can be something that can be reformed. Usually it was going to have to be done by them, so you can give it to your main characters. If you find that your main characters lack a flaw, giving them a character trait that is a little bit less than desirable that comes up in certain situations and helps them to sabotage their own success unthinkingly. So if you always go, oh, that's just our luck, and you're always looking for the bad luck, you fail to notice the times when things are going wrong. And they've done scientific studies on this. They asked people if they felt lucky or unlucky. They put a $20 bill on the ground outside the test room, and overwhelmingly the people who said that they generally in life felt lucky were the ones who looked down and saw the $20 bill. The people who generally consider themselves to be unlucky mostly didn't see it. They were not as open to good experiences. So that's a thing that your character could decide to reform about themselves, or the experiences of your story could lead them to reform about themselves. So that is something that I want you to make a list of. Oh, and for bonus points, you could list 3 ways for each of those traits to be subverted, changed, used for comic relief, or otherwise turned around. So whether it's going to be something they do for themselves, whether it's something that someone does for them, whether it's the circumstances of your story, think about ways that a particular character trait could be turned around. On the final day of this week, I gave you a tiny task about character speech. This is one of the things that will not come as a surprise to you because it comes up in a lot of discussions about how to get ideas and how to spark your writing. And it's to listen to other people. The twist on this one is that I would like you to list 5 expressions that people in your life overuse. I shared a GIF from the movie Office Space where the woman in the office says somebody's got a case of the Mondays. Now these will probably change during your life because certain phrases gain currency in popular culture until they get overused and then they become ridiculous. But there could be anything. Somebody in your life overuses a phrase and it gets to the point where you almost twitch when you hear them say it. Or it may be that you're like, oh, my granny always said that, and I'm really happy to hear it again. So there's different ways that you can do this, but there's all these spaces, all these phrases where people use them as a verbal tick, and I want you to write down 5 of them so that you have them ready to go when you start writing your stories. It's another way to differentiate your characters. Maybe one character carries an umbrella everywhere they go, whether it's rainy or not, or sunny or not, and one person always says, bless your heart. It could be anything like that. All of these things help us to deepen and flesh out even quick stories. And again, just having this list of resources at your fingertips before StoryADay May starts is going to be something you will not regret. Next week, I'm going to be sending out tiny tasks that will build the right mindset for you. Part of what StoryADay May is about building the practice, is about teaching yourself to keep going when the day is good and when the day is less good. And next week we're going to focus on the things that will undermine your efforts to get through the challenge, or any writing challenge, whether it's getting to the end of a short story, whether it's getting to the end of a novel, whether it's writing a series, whether it's getting published. There are features of our brains that will undermine our efforts to keep going, and we're going to look at them next week. We're going to stare directly at them, and we are going to defang them by doing some exercises, tiny exercises that make you aware of the reasons why you are not succeeding at any given point the way you would like to. It will make you feel better about the fact that you're not just a loser. This is actually how human brains work, and that you're really normal. And it will give you some techniques for overcoming them, or learning to live with them, and learning to coexist with some of them, and learning to just dismiss some of them in ways that are healthy, that are not about bottling up your emotions. We'll talk about ways to cement and make sure that you are turning up for your writing. We'll talk about ways that we can make it more fun, that every day you're going to wake up wanting to show up for your writing. It's not going to feel like a grind when you go through some of these techniques that I'm giving you next week. I'm going to give you some ways to deal with the fact and empower yourself because of the fact that some days are going to be less good than others. And there are techniques you can use and put in place in advance that mean that if you have a bad day, it's not the end of the world. And once we've done all that, we're going to start thinking about what your rules for StoryADay May are going to be. And if you're not participating in StoryADay May, you can still use this to create some rules for yourself for whatever your writing is going to be over the next few months, over the next few years. Probably shorter term is better as you're building this new practice that fits in with your life as it is today, not someday. So come over to the blog and check out all of these exercises. Make sure that you're signed up for the challenge, because signing up for the challenge gets you all of these emails every day, every weekday in your inbox. And do them. Don't just read them, actually do them. I heard somebody the other day, I was overhearing a conversation, and somebody was talking about the fact that they weren't ready to jump in and try the thing that we were being taught how to do because they were just gathering information. I'm like, that's not how you do stuff. That's not how we learn to do things. We learn by doing. You can learn all the theory in the world, but if you only ever learn the theory of swimming and you never get in the water, the first time you get in the water, you are not going to be an Olympic swimmer. You need to feel it. You need to feel it in your body when you're trying to learn a new skill. And that is true of writing as much as anything. And you have to try out these techniques. You can't just sit there and go, oh yes, I'll think about characters. Write them down. Go through the process of letting your brain slow down a little bit as you type or you write, and make connections and train your brain to focus on this one task, so that next month your brain will have practice in focusing, and you'll be able to focus for as long as it takes you to write a scene or a story. So practice. Do the exercises, tell your friends, get them to sign up and do the exercises, because aren't you sick of listening to them talking about how they wish they could write, they wish they had time to write, they'll write one day. Oh, they get them to sign up for the challenge and get some practice. If you know somebody who is always saying they want to write, get them on board. Get them to sign up, StoryADay.org. And you work through your exercises, get ready, have fun, and I will see you back here next week. Keep writing. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at StoryADay.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, have a great creative week, and of course, keep writing.